direct analogy, but you remember the Simpsons episode when Homer and his brother designed a car together, and it had like all
Classic.
Yeah, yeah.
the. We've seen so many tag management architectures that kind of resemble that, where, and it's because to your point, you've probably had over the years 3 or 4 or more people that have come in and kind of put their own personal kind of brand on it, and so you have all these different things kind of cobbled together. Um, I guess is that just the reality and there's no way around it, or in short of like rebuilding everything, how do you adhere to some sort of, at least I guess, style? So
Yeah.
you could make changes, but we're going to keep it in the same kind of style.
I think to a degree, there are intended ways for this stuff to be done. Like launch, if that's what we're talking about. Still won't call it Adobe Tags. Um, launch has an interface that'll allow you to get most things done that you need to. And it's only once we're like, oh, this is too complicated in the interface. I'm going to take it to code that is then probably going to become too complicated in code. So in some cases, I think it's just a matter of seeing what can be done with what is already existing. Um, and instead of reinventing the wheel, it might be that the way that it was set up in launch, completely in the interface, is still wildly inefficient, and you have to go through and figure out what's a way that we can simplify and uncomplicate this. So I think we do that with interface only, no code architecture just as much as we do with code architecture. Um, but code, I think, has more tendency to have personal flavor and
Yeah.
get complicated as it changes hands and stuff.
How much of that, if any, is the direct result of implementers not being given the proper time? Even if they may ask for the proper time to do an implementation, there's pushback to say no. We need this now, so they don't have the time to really think about how any kind of
Hmm.
changes or additions fit into the existing architecture.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about all of the, like, if you have to put workarounds in place, because that's frequently why folks go to custom code. It's because you asked your developers to give you a certain value and they're giving it slightly wrong. So you have to use JavaScript to convert date formats or something like that. Whereas ideally, you would never have to do that. You go back to the developers and say, this is the format we need it in. And you would just have a nice flow all the way from the data layer into reporting. So yes, to a degree, a lot of the time that complexity comes about because we can't go back to the developers and ask them to change the data layer of a site in whatever way we need. Um, but sometimes, even if you have a perfect data layer, there's uh, just people who overcomplicate, have frameworks, basically mini tag management systems within their tag management system that multiple times now over the years, I've had clients where they just use their TMS as a code deployment system, and everything else was managed just purely in their own code. If you're using a Git repo for your analytics implementation, then you might, I don't want to say doing it wrong. That seems so harsh. Um, but you might be adding extra complexity and making it harder on whoever's going to come after you.